Welcome everyone to this edition of The Business of People. This is our final conversation of 2020. We're excited and looking forward to another great year in 2021, but we're wrapping up the year with a conversation today with Jennine Keller of BakeMark, General Manager. So Jennine, thanks for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
It's a
so
pleasure.
for those of us that don't know, give us some background on BakeMark and talk to us about what the role of General Manager entails.
Awesome. Well, BakeMark has actually been around as a company for over 100 years. Now it's worn a few different hats in the Buffalo area and has been a few different company names. But the past couple of years, we are BakeMark completely alone. At one point, we were owned by CSM. At one point, we were Federal Bakers, and now we are just BakeMark. Our corporate headquarters are in California, and we are what a broadliner, food service distributor is, like a Sysco or US Foods, but we are that to the bakery industry. So, Sysco, US Foods, those are such big names. Everybody knows those, but it was funny because before I signed on to the company, I didn't even know BakeMark. I sold food my entire career, but never in the bakery industry. And so BakeMark is what a Sysco or US Foods is, but just to really the bakery, the dessert shops, college and universities that are really getting into bakery programs. We sell a wide variety of products to multiple different types of customers. So it's not just bakeries, but we're a bake house. So we have many more items that a traditional broadliner wouldn't carry because they're so specialty and niche. And that's really our bread and butter and what we do. And so BakeMark isn't just a distributor, though. It's also a manufacturer.
Okay.
So they started with donut mixes and different type of cake mixes, in which we still have today. And so I get to wear both hats. I get to be manufacturing, but I also am selling those goods, which, are our label and we stand behind. But then I also get to sell amazing brands such as, Rich Products. And that's a great partner of ours. So we get to do a bunch of different facets within the bakery category, which is great. My role as the general manager might look a little different than some of the traditional general manager roles that you would hear, which might be geared more towards logistics and warehouse. Mine encompasses it all. So I actually run the full sales team as well. And so my hat that I wear in this box is, yes, logistics and warehouse and transportation and pricing, customer service, but then it's also, the sales and going out there and helping with pricing and all of that with my team. So that's really what I do. I kind of wear multiple hats and I'm pretty busy.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. So, talk to us about how you stepped into this role amidst, you've been there, I think, for 8-9 months, and you stepped into this role amidst broad, change and uncertainty in an industry that I think really saw increased demand throughout this, pandemic. We know that food service, delivery, anything within like the food manufacturing space really benefited, I don't want to say benefited from the chaos, but it was an industry that really saw increased demand. So what was that like for you, kind of jumping into a new role amidst a time of great change?
Yeah. Well, I would say the retail side has grown for business, but the food service out there is still really hurting pretty badly right now, especially independents. In Buffalo, we pride ourselves on having the most, in my opinion, amazing independent restaurants in the country. I think they stand up versus Michelin star restaurants I've been to in Las Vegas. I think we really have phenomenal restaurants here that are hurting. And especially with some of these pandemic restrictions that are occurring and that are happening, although necessary and needed to, for the health of our community, are really hurting these small independent restaurants. Yes, takeout has increased, and you see things like Grubhub increasing and people doing more takeout, delivery, and catering orders, but it still isn't enough to sustain. And unfortunately, I don't know if many people understand the longevity of the hurt that this could cause and
Yeah.
has caused. So I would say, and I would use this as a small PSA to make sure everybody's going out and supporting their local restaurants, supporting independent and bakeries. Same thing with bakeries. So in our industry, you have to think bakeries, a lot of them are using colleges and universities and are using restaurants to fulfill large orders for, say, freshly baked bread or cakes or cookies, office holiday parties. A lot of those things aren't happening.
True.
So even the bakeries on that side are hurting. A lot of parties can't happen. So wedding cakes, hundreds and hundreds of wedding cakes that would have went to these bakeries are being canceled or not ordered at all. So although there is growth in some segments of the industry, in general, I would say the majority of restaurants and small bakeries are hurting. And that is where my role, I believe, has been so important and instrumental in this business because, as I said, I really have been focusing on sales as well. And what our goal, number one, is to keep our employees safe. Because we are not stay in place. So there are some other food service companies that are stay in place and, their team doesn't travel throughout. We are not that. We are going throughout. We are going into our customers. We're still providing an amazing service. That was important to us. We're giving them resources. We have PPE, so the face masks and the gloves and the hand sanitizer that we can help sell in. We have posters and whatnot that we're giving to these smaller businesses because what is happening is they're looking for support. So that was really when I came in, one of our biggest initiatives was to help the small business and to help those bakeries and those restaurants that were struggling any way we could, where, some other companies might say, oh, we have to pull back. We actually pushed forward instead. We've grown our sales team. I've doubled it in size since I started in May. Which I'm really happy about. We have all of our drivers and all of our trucks on the road. We are, at the same level of staff internally as we were before the pandemic, which I think is a big testament to what we do at BakeMark. The environment in BakeMark is actually very, very positive. So when I get on these conference calls with other branches, it is uplifting and positive, and, I can't say enough good things. And that is where my role has then trickled down to my sales team. And we have to keep it positive. We have to remain optimistic through this because we then push that on to our customers and we try to help them every single day. So that was one of the challenges coming in, was how do we help these businesses that are hurting so badly from the pandemic? And, my role a year ago would have looked much different as a GM role. But the crisis management too, and making sure that we had everything we needed to support our customers, has been even more of a challenge because logistic wise and manufacturing wise, there are shortages and there are problems that we have to think 12 steps ahead. Where a year ago, when we were going into the Christmas season, the pandemic was not here in the United States, and it was life as normal. And so business was a lot more about getting out there, making sure, everybody knows who BakeMark is and, getting new accounts and all this stuff, which is great. It's phenomenal. But our focus has changed a little bit to how are we going to now support the customers that are out there in these bakeries, which I feel is very refreshing.
You said so many interesting things, but some of the greatest innovation comes out of times of crisis. So it really sounds like you've just had to be really nimble, really flexible, really forward thinking and in an attempt and an effort to really support all your customers. And if anything comes of, there's so much that's going to come of this, but one of the things I think is a greater appreciation of just our community. So I love the little PSA to shop local because it's so important. At the end of the day, like, community is everything. And if we don't invest and make a deliberate effort to help our community get through this, it's going to look a lot different on the other end. So I can appreciate that. And I can appreciate the reminder to support local. And I thought a good segue and kind of follow-up question. What are you thinking about as you enter 2021? We're towards the end of the year here. What are some of the things that are kind of on your mind as you look towards a new year, hopefully a fresher start, a brighter start in 2021? What's on your mind?
So, professionally, we are looking to continue to really grow and do what we're doing. So we laid some beautiful groundwork in 2020 that I'm very proud of. As I mentioned, we have doubled our sales team, and that was also eye-opening, because when you are looking to add people on, unfortunately with this pandemic, you got to see many, many extremely talented people that were looking. And I was fortunate enough to add 4 people onto my team. So I'm looking to make sure that they're growing and that they're, satisfied and happy at BakeMark. And we're all moving in the same direction, which is to really help out bakeries. And my goal, when, fingers crossed, this pandemic, hopefully within a couple months after the vaccine starts to allow colleges and universities to be in person again, and more restaurants to open back up, and businesses to, people can start going back into businesses. I think that the groundwork that we laid here this year will propel us forward and continue on that process of, building a beautiful company and building a company that even more people know our name, and that's really professionally what we're working to do.
Okay. So we just talked about kind of professionally what you're looking forward to in 2021 as a fresh start. Personally, what are you excited about? Kind of what are you thinking about? Because we know now more than anything, 2020 has shown us that the lines between personal and professional have been quite blurred, and the balance of both is so critical. So I'm always eager to hear what you're doing personally to get ready for a new year.
I think getting ready for 2021, for me, going to be all about my mental health and keeping that, when you can't see your family as much as you want to, or you wave to them through windows and however social distancing you're doing, getting ready to hopefully be able to see them and getting in that right mindset and getting excited about that is very important to me. And I know there's a lot of other people out there that haven't seen their family in a very long time. And so, I think we should all start really focusing on hopefully getting to that point and remaining sane and safe during this time so we can get there in 2021. Mental health is so important right now during this pandemic. I cannot say it enough. And mental health is real. And so, and that's what I talk to my employees about a lot as well. This time during the pandemic has been extremely difficult for so many people. And my staff still comes in every single day. And that is one of the ways that I wanted to help them when I signed on board, was to be there for them in whatever they need during this time, especially because it's been such a difficult time if any person you talk to on the street will have a story for you of something, great or small. And I believe, you're dished out what you can take, right? Nobody's is too small of what they're dealing with and what they're feeling. And I feel as a leader that has been very important for me, both professionally and personally, to make sure that my team is in good mental health. They're satisfied, they're happy, they're moving forward just as I am, because it's been a tough year. And we're all really excited for 2021.
Yeah, no, and that's a really good segue into the next question. And just to kind of reflect on 2020 in general, that the need for empathy and the need to really recognize your employees as humans and look at them holistically versus just someone that's going to show up, maybe on the manufacturing floor and produce their job. Like, you can't ignore that they have all of these other external pressures and influences that's gonna contribute to how they show up every day and contribute to your organization. And I'm actually really excited because I think that's an enormous mental transition and mental, way to look at employees that maybe we overlooked or didn't do prior to this. So I'm hoping that that's something that sticks with employers and leaders. And you manage a lot of people, and I'm just curious what your kind of leadership philosophy, management style is. It sounds like one that's like very empathetic, very encouraging. But how do you show up every day? Like, what do you say? How do you lead your people in and out of pandemic aside? Like, kind of what's a leadership kind of philosophy that you really believe is important?
I became a leader because I want my team and the people that work for me to be successful, even more successful than me. Mm-hmm. And that is why I became a leader, because I believe leading is also teaching and mentoring and empowering the people that work for you. Mm-hmm. And there are so many people out there that get into leadership positions and roles for the wrong reasons. It could be a multitude of different reasons, but it's the wrong ones. For me, jumping into a leadership role meant I had the ability to help shape somebody's career and life moving forward. Mm-hmm. And that was very important to me. You as a leader are capitalizing on your employees' time away from their family. They're spending the majority of it at work, whether it's commuting to work, staying at work. You as a leader are in charge of that time. What are you doing with it? And how are you making your employees feel? Mm-hmm. And I just think that that is so important, because if you can honestly look at your employees and say, I know that they're satisfied coming to work every day. I don't mean happy. I mean, because that's totally different. But if somebody is satisfied with the job they're doing, and that does lead to happiness sometimes, you know, some people will never be happy in a job. But if somebody can say, yeah, I help my employees be satisfied in their role and what they're doing, you know, and they have a great work life, because there is work-life balance, but just a great work life. And you say that you took a part in that, then I think you're doing a good job as a leader. If you can't say that, if you look at your employees and you're not making a positive, you know, effort in their work life to empower them and teach them and lead them, you know, I think that says a lot about that type of leader as well. So that's why I just feel that as a leader, we have a duty to empower our employees, but also, and I will say this, on the flip side, you also are the leader that needs to empower your employees if they're not right for that position as well. So it goes both ways. You know, it's not all rainbows and butterflies and lollipops. You know, you can't sit there and say, oh, I love everybody that is working for me, and no matter what they do, they're phenomenal. But I feel as though many times you will see when somebody's not satisfied with their job and the work performance isn't there, you have to mentor them out as well. And there is a delicate balance to do that as well. It's open dialogue, it's open conversations, and it's asking them, are you satisfied here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, leadership is all that, being able to have difficult conversations that you know will result in long-term benefit for the company, but knowing how to navigate those tough conversations. It's empowering your employees. It's believing in your employees, making them feel like they're valued. I mean, that's all everyone wants, is to feel valued, to feel like they have a sense of worth, to feel like they're part of a community. And it really, really sounds like you've done that at BakeMark, and you're going to continue to cultivate and facilitate that culture. And I can only imagine what dividends it'll pay in terms of just retention, production. I'm really excited for you, and BakeMark is incredibly lucky to have you. It was really, really refreshing to talk with you and get to know you. So I can't thank you enough for taking the time. I know you have a lot on your plate and are wearing many hats, but it's just such a treat to meet new people who are doing really exciting things here in Buffalo. And we wish you from SelectOne the happiest holidays and the brightest new year. And I know we'll keep in touch in 2021.